Good morning, our dear listeners. It is our pleasure again to be here this morning. How are you, Hassan?
I'm well, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Liberation.
Happy Liberation to you.
Yes, and happy Liberation to all our listeners. It is our pleasure again to be here this morning.
Sure.
Now, today we have a guest in the studio. His name is Dr. Derrick C. Samuels. He's the founder and president of Derrick Samuels Leadership Institute, DLSI, Prolos Consulting Services, Inc., and the host of Evening with Dr. Derrick. He's a passionate speaker, highly regarded business consultant, author, professor, transformational leader, provocative writer. And he is a certified project management professional, holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, MBA in management, and PhD in applied management and decision sciences. Has taught for Devry University, American Military University, Argosy University, among others. Hassan.
Dr. Derrick, it's an honor to have you this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much.
How is your stay in Rwanda so far?
Awesome. Number one, I see that so many things they've told us about Rwanda is exactly not what I found here. The people are so wonderful. They receive you and they always smile. They are ready to assist you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You have dedicated your life and career to training leaders. And in fact, as we were introducing you, you run a leadership institute.
Yes.
What is the genesis of your conviction to taking this path?
If you look at the challenges we go through in life, especially from the African perspective, underutilization of resources, dependency on foreign aid, deeply rooted corruptions, power-drunk attitude, lack of accountability, clouds of ignorance, ethnic differences, governance by exclusion, governance by excluding the people. Now, you can understand the place of true leadership in the developing nation. Africa need the right leader. That's why I define democracy. I define dictatorship that if you have democracy that excludes the people, you are actually a dictator, no matter what you practice. A true leader must include the people in whatever they do.
Yes.
So this is what drove you to kind of take this path, in your career and in your leadership, to train leaders to have this view of leadership.
Exactly. Number one, these are not the days where you have to be yesterday people. A lot of people are yesterday people. Especially from the African perspective. I grew up in Nigeria before relocating to the US. Most people in Africa, they tend to be yesterday people. And they have some level of inferiority complex. They have some level of low self-esteem. How do we help them? So people like me who have transitioned from that level before to a place where I am now, so I have what it takes. I know the process that it takes for me to help them overcome that thing that is in them, because everything about me or you is about the mind. So that transformation of the mind is something that all the developing nation need, and it's true something that leadership that's required in terms of what is needed in Africa.
Yes. You have mentioned the mind thing. To you, is leadership a mind thing or a heart thing?
Now, the word mind and heart, they're the same thing. So I don't want to use the word, the physical heart. Heart is your mind, actually.
Yes.
And your mind is more powerful than the challenges that confront you.
Yes.
That is why our goal, you see, if you transform the mind of the people, you transform the nation.
Yes.
That is the key. And that is the key of leadership, is transforming the mind of people to think conceptually, to think like tomorrow people, to think like people that have what it takes to succeed. Because everybody listening to me right now, you've got something in you to make you succeed and shine. You've got to believe in it. You've got to act on it. Because the only way you can become it is to have believed it. And and when you believe something, you have no choice to behave it. You cannot become what you have not behaved. Neither can you behave what you have not believed.
Wow. This is just the introduction of the show, and wow.
Dr. Daniels, one of the leadership experts we know out there is Dr. John Maxwell. I'm sure you are acquainted with his work. He has a philosophy that says that everything rises and falls on leadership. Do you attest to that?
What he is saying actually means that leadership is the core. of every form of management. What he's saying is that if there's a lack of true quality leadership, there's going to be a problem. It's going to have a ripple effect on the people. That's exactly what he's saying, that the buck stopped on leadership. Now, that is the reason why all African leaders got to understand their place of true leadership. No, think about Africa, for example. Think about a president hanging into power for 40 years. Think about a leader that is corrupt, taking the money from the people. Think about some developing nation that, their state do not have potable water. They don't have good road. You know what I mean? And yet you have a governor that has billions of dollars in his account, who does not have a farm, who does not have a factory, and yet he has billions of dollars. And these billions of dollars, instead of developing the nation, and this money is being wired to different Western nations. So everything stops at leadership. That's why leadership is a very fundamental, vital thing. And that's why leadership training is a must for everyone.
Wow. You've kind of taken us to the leadership in Africa. 50 years ago, almost the entire continent of Africa gained their independence from colonialism, but not much has been achieved in form of national transformation. What do you think has been the role of leadership, or the lack thereof, to our slow growth generally as a continent?
When you see corruption means that you are putting the wrong people in power. That is corruption. Corruption means that you are putting personal interest above national interest. That is corruption. Corruption means that the policy and the politics and the procedures of your country is not working for the people.
Yes.
Corruption means that you have excluded the people that brought you into power in your governance. That is corruption. Now, going back to your question, 50 years ago we gained independence. You can gain independence in the physical, but have you gained independence in terms of knowledge? Have you gained independence in terms of your level of understanding? Have you gained independence in terms of the power of information that's available to you? Wow. Have you also gained independence about yourself? Because one thing about life is that you need to gain independence about yourself, meaning that you need to take personal, corporate, national responsibility, giving people national vision, giving people national assignment, giving people strategic goals needed for them to move the nation forward. Why is it that Africa is not moving forward over 50 years ago? Number one, they don't believe much in themselves. A true African believe in what is happening in the West than what is happening around them. A true African do not have a very good self-esteem about him or herself. So you see other people coming here to teach you something from their own culture, when we need to integrate and solidify our own culture and embed it in the mind of our people. We need to empower our people through education. We need to empower our people through entrepreneurial spirit. We need to empower our people through training, various forms of training and workshop. So that way they begin to capture the national vision. So the only way Africa can move forward is to, number one, become tomorrow people.
Wow.
Become tomorrow people. Yesterday people, nobody hires them anymore. They are becoming unnecessary. They are becoming irrelevant.
Unbelievable.
You are just blowing our minds away. I can imagine what is happening to our listeners. But as we proceed, I'm reminded of the recent meeting that the president had in the Pan-African Youth during the
3 days ago.
3 days ago, in the commemoration of the 20th anniversary of Rwanda's liberation. He said something very profound. He said that the next frontier of liberation is mindset change. Feeling comfortable with mediocrity and low expectations is not a fight you can shoot your way through. Faced with certain situations, you can either fight or flee or give up. Now, as you know, we are still in that mood of liberation, but he said the level we're at, we can't shoot our way through this. The people's minds need to be changed.
Right. And I hear you resonate with what you're saying. Let me just finish what he said. He was talking to the African youth. It was a Pan-African Youth Conference. He challenged them. He said, are you, African youth, as bothered and impatient as you need to be to urgently change things? Then he said, it is time to shake off the low expectations that have been attached to Africans that we, to some extent, have accepted. And then he says, I don't know about you, but it is obvious to me that you are intelligent. You're as intelligent and as creative and as resourceful as your peers around the world. that mental shift as the next frontier, if you notice what is happening in Africa today, everybody's talking about Africa rising. Do you resonate to what our president said a few days ago, that we need to have a mindset change in order to move things?
Obviously, I totally agree with what the president said. Now, the mind is a terrible thing to waste, like somebody said. You cannot have your mind attached to the challenges around you without a solution, and you expect a forward movement. Now, this is what I want to say about what the president said. Number one, I agree with what the president said about the change of mindset. But we need to equip the people. We need to create an environment that empowers the people to think positively. Now, think about people graduating from the university and they don't have a job. That is discouraging. Now, think about people who are doing some little entrepreneurial job and they don't have opportunity to vent their potential. That is challenging. That is mind-boggling. So what I will encourage is that every nation should create an environment of trust that attract innovativeness. Every nation should, in Africa especially, should create an environment of trust that attracts investment. Because, that's one thing I wanted to say here. You see, the mind is good for us to just talk about the mind, but the mind must be anchored in something. You know what I mean? Yes. The mind must be anchored in hope.
Yes.
And hope must be practical. That is why it's good that the environment here must be empowered in terms of trust that empowers innovativeness, creativity, and investment. We also need to create a culture of personal corporate responsibility, meaning there is need for us to let people know that they need to take personal responsibility. That we also should understand that when it comes to the mind here, we need to resolve issues that bothers the people very, very quickly. Political issues, economic issues, social issues, ethnic issues, technological issues. These are things that need to be changed. Until these things are changed, the mind will not be able to anchor on something. There is no way the mind can be anchored on nothing and be very hopeful. A life that is without hope is a life without strength.
Yes. Well, as we get ready to take our break, we can remind you to call us again on 078 7223 224. Later during the show, we will be taking in your calls. We'll be taking in your questions. If you can send an SMS, your questions to Dr. Derrick here in the studio, as we keep thinking and meditating on these things.